This is the Fox Park neighborhood, located between Grand and Jefferson Avenue. Fox Park was first settled by German immigrants in the early 1800s, many of whom were craftsmen and artisans who gave this neighborhood its distinctive architecture. Many of the early residents of Fox Park were poor or middle class, and so the buildings needed to be affordable and livable to be in the neighborhood. And so, most of the houses in the neighborhood were double-family homes, where one family would live on the bottom floor and another family would live on the top floor. That is why many of these houses have two doors, one for the first floor and one for the second floor. Almost all of the houses on this block have been converted from single-family to double-family by removing the wall that separates the middle. This is my home. It was built in 1904. Located on Nebraska, right at the border of Fox Park and Compton Heights. It has a rich history of previous owners and previous uses. For example, in my research, I found the name of the family that used to live in my house. The Rupich or Rupik family were Yugoslavian immigrants, and they did not own a radio. None of them were able to read. This is pretty standard for the residents of Fox Park throughout much of its early history. Another thing that is pretty standard for a family of this time would have been to go to the St. Francis de Sales Church. With an impressive 300-foot steeple and vast interior able to fit 1,200 parishioners, St. Francis de Sales is the second largest church in the St. Louis Archdiocese and has been nicknamed the Cathedral of South St. Louis. It was founded in 1867 to serve a growing population of German Catholics in the South City area. In the late 20th century, St. Francis de Sales saw numbers dwindle as Catholics moved into the suburbs and non-Catholics would replace them. The church began to be a drain on the archdiocese, and they considered shutting it down in 2004. Instead, Archbishop Raymond Burke decided to give it over to the nuns of the Institute of Christ the King, Sovereign Priest, who fixed it up and began to hold a traditional Latin Mass. St. Francis de Sales is almost like a microversion of what goes on in the Fox Park neighborhood. There was a growing population of Christians that needed a church, so they built one, and it was doing well. But then people started leaving, and things took a turn. The people who took their place were not as wealthy or as spiritual as the people before them, and were not able to keep the church running. Eventually, buildings weren't useful the way that they were, and needed to change. The Catholic Church became a Latin oratory, and multi-family homes were converted into single-family homes. The church is doing better, and the houses are not abandoned anymore, but what happened to those families who couldn't afford a radio? A single-family home is a lot more expensive than a combined double, and a Latin Mass can be intimidating for someone who is not used to or prepared for it. These barriers to entry make the Fox Park neighborhood less appealing to the type of person that it was originally built for. The character of the neighborhood has likely been permanently changed from what it was first imagined to be. The kind of person Fox Park was built for doesn't exist to the same extent anymore. Fox Park, as well as other historic neighborhoods in the St. Louis area, have had to change and adapt to fit the needs of their residents, and in doing so, have had to change their character. But Fox Park has managed to remember its roots. The church was protected from demolition, and many of the double-family homes were converted into single-family homes instead of being torn down and built anew. Fox Park took what it had and was able to utilize it for something more, instead of wiping the slate clean and starting over from scratch. It's clear that time is not running out for Fox Park. It still has very much to give. In the background of the video, you have been seeing pictures and videos of some of the finest establishments in Fox Park. The washateria on the corner of Nebraska and Shenandoah has been a staple of the neighborhood for years. They recently had a fire, which is why things look a little under construction, but they are getting things ready to reopen again. Little Fox is a modern sit-down restaurant on the corner of Shenandoah and California. There was once a time when my family owned the restaurant that Little Fox is today. It was called the Purple Martin. At the corner of Accomack and California sits a little restaurant called Lona's Lil Eats. Known for their gigantic rice paper wraps, Lona's Lil Eats has been serving the Fox Park neighborhood with delicious Asian-inspired food for years. It's clear that with these new shops and restaurants, Fox Park is getting its feeling of community back. It used to be rare to see someone using the actual Fox Park, but now it is difficult to go a day without seeing somebody on the swing set or using the slide, or somebody with their dog in the dog park. At least to me and for many others, including Mark Groth, the future for Fox Park looks bright. I, for one, am excited to watch how Fox Park grows and develops. Now that I am going to college, Fox Park's development will seem much less gradual, as I will only be seeing it every once in a while when I come home.